Hey guys, today I am presenting a Traptrix deck profile, which I am super excited to be bringing because one, it's post Blazing Vortex, and this deck got a huge boon in Blazing Vortex, which is really great, and two, it is one of my favorite decks of all time. If you can't tell by the mat, I absolutely love this archetype. I've been playing it since 2014, even before Hat. Like, I just played pure Traptrix. I've taken it to a 3v3 in recent times, and we got top 4, me and my team did, which was pretty cool. And I've also just done really well at locals, like on multiple occasions. I think I have 4 or 5 first place claims with Traptrix, and our locals is pretty competitive. Like, I've beaten a lot of Drytron players, Zoo Eldritch. Last format, it was a lot of Dragon Link and stuff, and I was just doing really well with Traptrix, getting a lot of first places, and the deck is honestly so underrated, and I think it is so powerful, and just doesn't get like the love it honestly should. And yeah, I just am absolutely in love with this archetype, and I want to share my list, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Every time I've made a Traptrix deck profile, it's honestly gone like 30 minutes plus. In some of my previous profiles of this list before Blazing Vortex that I just never uploaded. So I'm going to try to keep it shorter than 30 minutes, aiming for like 15 to 20. Hopefully I can do that, and otherwise maybe watch on 1.5 times speed. But anyways, I'm just going to get into the list. Starting off with 3 Marmelio. Obviously like the main starter in the Traptrix engine, best starter anyways. 3 Traptrix Mantis. Let me kind of scoot these in a way that's not terrible. And then only 2 Diania. So why 8 Traptrix? So obviously standard 9 is something you see in most lists, or in some Dogmatika lists, you'll see 7 Traptrix with only 2 Mantis. I'm more of a fan of 9. Like, I've played 9 Traptrix in most of the time I've been playing this deck. Tested 8 in a couple lists, but 9 has been sort of like the standard for me. But post Blazing Vortex, I think 8 is actually better, because with the release of Blazing Vortex, we've gotten a super huge increase to the deck's consistency and overall power, which allows us to play less Traptrix monsters and still see them more often than the standard 9. And by playing 8, you actually end up drawing less Traptrix monsters in your opening hand, and if we're talking about multiples, because one of the worst things you can do with this engine, and the big catch-22 with Traptrix in general, is one, they're all normal summons and they're not extenders, and even if they were extenders, they wouldn't be like super great extenders. Which leads your hands, if you open like 3 Traptrix monsters, to be very bad actually. Like, you want to open 1 or 2, and when you play more, you end up seeing multiples that can cause your hands to be less optimal. Like, if you run like 15 Traptrix monsters, sure, you have like a 90-something% chance to draw a Traptrix monster, but that's not exactly good if you're drawing 3 Traptrix monsters. So you have to find a ratio that's good for you, the sweet spot for your build. I'm playing 8 and 42, but again, Blazing Vortex has kind of allowed that to be a thing. If you want to play 9, I think that's really good. I personally wouldn't play 7, because like, that's just too low. You have to see a Traptrix monster, or have to is a strong word, but your hands when you draw a Traptrix monster and when you don't are very, very different in power levels. Like, seeing a Traptrix monster is very, very important. Like, a big reason is because we run cards like Parallel Exceed, which need your 1-card links from the Traptrix engine to resolve, right? Like, you need to make Sera to even play Parallel Exceed. This is just one of the best power cards for Traptrix, because you make Sera, you special summon Parallel Exceed, make a rank 4, and rank 4s this format are insanely good. Obviously, you have Rafflesia, which Rafflesia Sera is insane. And such actually like a difficult board to break that snowballs into like game very, very quickly. If it's not outed like instantly. And also like Abyss Dweller. Like Abyss Dweller is super, super good this format. Honestly, it can beat Drytron on its own. Super good versus Dinosaur. Good versus Virtual World in a sense. It's good honestly versus like every matchup. Eldritch, it's like alright versus Invoke Dogmatika, but against every other big deck, it's so, so good. So yeah, making Abyss Roller is actually one of the reasons to play this deck right now. Is it's one of the fastest and like most consistent rank 4 decks, I think. But yeah, Parallel Exceed, just a crazy extender for the deck. Then the Dogmatika engine. I play 2 Ecclesia and 1 Fleur-de-Lis. I've seen people like play with the ratios of this engine recently. Some people don't really like multiple Ecclesia, and they'll play like 1 Ecclesia, 3 Nadirs, 2 Punishment. I've seen people cutting Fleur-de-Lis in general, and then I've seen like 3 Ecclesia, 2 Fleur-de-Lis. This has been what's working for me. It's like an optimized ratio for my list because I don't want to open too many Dogmatika cards. Like I want to see either just 1 Nadir most optimally, or like Nadir Ecclesia, or like 1 Punishment. But I don't want to open Nadir Ecclesia and Fleur-de-Lis or something, because then I don't have enough of like other good cards to actually play the game. This engine is really here to accent your Traptrix monsters, because the synergy with your Dogmatika engine and Traptrix monsters are the synergy is very, very good, because Traptrix Sera obviously procs off of normal trap cards, which is searchable due to Ecclesia. And it also gives the deck more of a go second, and it's honestly just a super, super good engine to pair with the Traptrix engine, which is why we are playing it. Next up, 3 Ash Blossom. Very, very standard. Nothing really to explain here. Ash Blossom is just super good this format, super good just about every format. And then 2 Bell, because she's also quite a powerhouse this format. Really being good against Drytron, being good against Invoke Dog. Just super good at hitting cards like Sanguine, Nadir Servant, Gamma. Gamma's a big one. Like when you're running 3 Ash, 2 Bell, it gives you 5 soft counters to Psyframe Gear Gamma, which is very, very good, because Gamma can dominate this deck because you need your normal summon to resolve so that you can make Traptrix Sera. So like if you normal summon Remelio or Mantis and they Gamma, it can put you in such a bad spot. But Bell and Ash, just very, very powerful hand traps this format in general, and they also are soft counters to Gamma. That is it for monsters. So before I go into spells, a little bit about the monster lineup. We're playing a lot of monsters for what you would consider to be a trap deck. Like, what is it, 8, 14, 19 monsters? But the theory is that like it's better to have monsters that get you to trap cards than it is to just have raw traps, because monsters that get you to trap cards generate advantage, our bodies on board, can deal damage, and will snowball, while like traps, they just activate. Like Myrmelio getting a trap is much better than just drawing the trap hole, right? And Ecclesia searching punishment is just better than drawing punishment. So the theory is you want to play more monsters that get you traps, like Parallel Exceed gets you a trap in the sense of Rafflesia or just a rank 4. And yeah, that's essentially where we're at with that. On to spells. The biggest part of Blazing Vortex, undeniably, is Pot of Prosperity. Obviously, this card makes so many decks good. Like, this is an insane card, everyone knows it. But in my opinion, what it does for Traptrix is, I think this deck benefited from this card more than any other deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! I know that's a super bold claim, because Traptrix isn't like the most meta-relevant thing and super underrated. But because Traptrix is a very 2-card combo deck, like for example, a Traptrix monster plus Parallel Exceed, right? Like this is a 2-card combo that makes your board way better than just Traptrix monster. Traptrix monster plus Shade Brigandine, which is an obvious staple in Traptrix, is just insane compared to just Traptrix monster. And then you need to open a Traptrix monster, right? So Pot of Prosperity has allowed us to play less Traptrix in the main decks, going down to 8, because we actually more consistently will see Traptrix monsters because of this card. This card is absolutely insane for this deck because it runs so many 2-card combos. And you'll see as I go on with the deck how many more combos are just like so good because of this card. You do have to be wary of this with your double or nothing plays, because it will half the damage you do. And also, if this card said banish 7, I might not run it. The extra deck is so tight that like it is difficult to banish 6 cards, to be honest. But you can banish 6 cards and still play your entire game perfectly fine. You just have to adjust based on what you banished. So like it's not like free, like you don't need an extra deck in Traptrix, but you can banish 6, and this card is honestly so insane for the deck. And again, I think this card helped Traptrix more than any other deck in the game currently. Like, people say Altergeist as well, but I honestly think it's Traptrix. It's so, so good. And if you test the deck with Pot of Prosperity and without it, you'll see such a huge difference. Next up, 3 Nadir Servant. This card is bonkers. If you're playing the Dogmatika engine, you're obviously playing as many Nadir as Konami allows you to play because this card is insane. It's a +1 Rhoda that has utility based off the extra deck. And again, another 2-card combo with Pot of Prosperity. Like seeing Traptrix Monster Nadir is insane. So you're maximizing on Nadir Servant all the time. And next up, 2 Tactics Talent. So this is a card that may seem strange because it has some confliction with Pot of Prosperity because, yeah, you can't use the draw effect, right? So if Prosperity gets ashed, you can't draw with Tactics, but you can take cards out of their hand, and most importantly, when you go second, you can steal things like Dragoon, just a crazy go second card that's also good going first. That's really why I choose to play this over like other cards. Like you could obviously play like more trap cards over Tactics, which I'll give budget options for the list as well because it is actually a very expensive deck. But yes, so you could play other things over Tactics. It's not mandatory. What I like about Tactics is it lets you have a great card going first or second. This card is absolutely amazing going first. If you get hand trapped and, you know, like if they ash your Nadir, you can draw 2 cards, right? If you have the stones and they like ash something randomly, you can take a card out of their hand, still make your entire board, and they're playing with less. But it's also amazing going second. It gives you an out to Dragoon, it gives you an out to so many powerful boss monsters, and it is super good going second. So it's just a very good middle ground card, which I want to middle ground with Traptrix, mostly because it's a deck that, at least on paper, seems to struggle going second. But really, in this list, it doesn't feel that way at all. So yeah, I'm definitely going to give budget options because this spell lineup alone is ridiculous and should not be so much money, but Konami has released so many good $100 plus cards recently, or near $100, that's kind of where we're at in the game, and this deck wants to run all of it because it finally got a pot it can play. It can't really play Extravagance or Desires, so main reason it can't play Desires right here, Double or Nothing. Worst card in the game, best card in the game. You hate to see it, you love to search it. However, because we are playing the Dogmatika package, we actually have a way to return this to the deck if we draw it. And like, I wasn't playing in that in previous lists, and it just kind of dawned on me, like, if my win condition is Double or Nothing, this card absolutely sucks so much worse than just being a brick when you draw it, because you lose a win condition in your deck. And being able to put it back, so like this with the Dogmatika package is so good. And like, I think you have to play the specific card for Dogmatika to put Double or Nothing back in your deck. But yes, that is the spell lineup. It is like 9 spells, which is actually a lot for a trap deck, right? So like, how many traps are we running, right? 42 card list, 19. We're running like 14 traps in a trap deck. So it's actually very small in the trap count, but because you search so many traps in this deck, and it just feels like you're playing with so many trap cards. So start off with the 3 Shade Brigandine, obvious staple in Traptrix. This card is probably better in Traptrix than any other deck as well, like better in Traptrix than Phantom Knight. Because of the way this card interacts with Sera, your boards are so insane with Brigandine. And yeah, Prosperity being able to get this and a Traptrix monster very easily, your boards will come out looking absolutely insane. And then 3 Infinite Impermanence. This is a strange one because people are kind of cutting at this format, but I think this card's amazing. Besides it being a normal trap to proc Sera, Imperm's honestly so good. I win so many games because of this card, and people expect it less now for some reason, just because people aren't playing it. Besides its ability to negate spells and traps, which I use all the time, people don't like this format essentially for VFD Chuche, right? Like, if they VFD Active Effect and you Imperm it, then they can Chuche it and it resolves. But you're a trap deck, so if they're making VFD against you, and like they Active Effect and you Imperm, it either resolves, or Imperm makes them use their Chuche, and they lose their VFD. So, like, Imperm just went Mega Plus. You can kind of just, like, summon any Traptrix monster, make Sera set traps, and tell them to go. And, like, what are they going to do? So, Imperm is very good in this deck, I think, and it just stops so many plays. It does have weird confliction with Brigandine, but it's honestly so worth it as just, like, a way to stop plays, or a good going first, too. On to Trap Holes, 1 Floodgate, 1 Time Space, double Gravedigger. This is the ratio I choose to play, 4 Trap Holes. Some people play 3, some people play like 5, and then you have the people who play like 15. 4 is the number that works for me. I think 3 was a very consistent number that I was using, but 4 gives you such a better grind game. And Gravedigger, this format is so unbelievably good. Like, it's so good. I'm gonna check my camera real quick because I'm not quite sure where it's at. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I'll accept that. But yeah, Gravedigger is so good this format for the same reasons Dweller is one of the best cards this format. This destroys all Drytrons. It just says stop. It stops Ben 10. It stops every virtual world that activates in the hand or grave. It stops dinosaurs because it stops babies. It stops Miscellaneousaurus. It stops Eldritch. Like, Eldritch can't do anything. Like, because of what the meta is, Gravedigger is beyond, like, S tier level trap hole. Like, far better than Floodgate is this format. And then I like Time Space because it can out things Floodgate doesn't. Like, if they just summon Verte, if you're running like 2 and 2, Verte is going to completely stomp on you, but Time Space can out things like Verte, random extra deck monsters. Like, it just outs a lot of things as well. So this is the ratio I'm going with. They all come up. You can play things like Bottomless in some lists. You can play Traptrix, Trap Hole, and Nightmare. Those 4 trap holes have just given me the most success. 2 Ice Dragon's Prison. Yeah, another less than budget card. But if you're playing a trap deck this format, this is one of the best traps in the game. It stops so much. It's an out to Dragoon. It's so good versus every deck but Drytron in which you side this deck or you side this card out all the time versus Drytron because it's so bad. But yeah, it just kind of stomps on every other deck. It's so good. Is it worth its price? I'm not quite sure. I think maybe it's just a little hype right now, but it's a normal trap card. So this card does what Ice Dragon's Prison does, and then says special summon a Traptrix monster from your deck. So it is an SS tier card. And then the 2 punishment for our Dogmatika engine. Definitely pretty self-explanatory. One of the best traps in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Yeah, you definitely are playing at least 2. Some people play 3. I think that's a little much. I'd rather play 2. So that is the main deck. So before I go into the extra deck, some budget options. So this is Dogmatika Traptrix, so you can't really play any budget options for Nadir. This is something you might just have to bite the bullet on or borrow from a friend or something like that, but you don't have to play Dogmatika Traptrix. You can very easily run more tech cards, like you can play some A-Tracks and then run, you know, Torrentials and Needle Ceilings. That's a very good list. You don't have to run Dogmatika Traptrix. I just think it's the better version personally. Tactics, you can play things like Double Summon. I know it doesn't look like Tactics, like they're not the same card profile, but Double Summon's honestly very good in this deck. In Over Prosperity, you can play just like good traps, or you can play Extravagance in some lists. You won't be able to play Extravagance with the extra deck I'm running, and I wouldn't do it in Dogmatika Traptrix at all, but I've seen it. Yeah, Prosperity is a weird one because there's no card that does what Prosperity does for Traptrix. But you can run like other cards, just like good traps will do it. Onto extra deck. Oh, and hold up, before extra deck, I guess Ice Dragon's Prison. You can run things like Lost Wind or Dinomischus. Those will work as budget options for Ice Dragons. So onto extra deck. Like I said earlier, the extra deck to me is very, very tight. I have like no flex spots in my opinion, and you need all 15 cards, but you don't need all 15 cards in every situation. So you do always have 6 to banish off Prosperity. Mid-game, usually I use Prosperity as a banish 3 unless I really, really need something. But yeah, first I'm going to flex these sleeves because, again, I just want to prove that I really love Traptrix, I guess. But yeah, on to the extra deck. 2 Traptrix Sera. Obviously the most broken card for Traptrix. The deck doesn't exist without this card. She is, again, I think the best legacy support that they've ever given a deck. Like, I guess Scrap Wyvern's up there too, but Traptrix Sera is so degenerate. If she stays on the field for more than 1 turn and you're proccing her effect, you've snowballed into so much advantage. You're winning the game. Like, it's so hard to lose when Sera's resolved multiple times, and the whole objective of the deck is plus off of her, snowball, and win, essentially. Protect her. Protect Sera is the main name of the game. 1 Nightmare Phoenix, very good generic link too, but also has good synergy with Sera because it co-links, saving her from battle, and you get to draw a card. But yeah, just very good generic link. 1 IP Masquerena, because she, with Boral Sword, is super win con. And she's good because Traptrix Sera does a lot of extending on your opponent's turn, because if a trap's activated, she'll summon. So if you don't get enough monsters on your turn, you can still end up getting enough materials with IP on your opponent's turn because of Sera. 1 BLS. You don't have to worry about playing this card too much. I know he's expensive, so you don't have to worry about playing him. You can easily run Nightmare Unicorn. I just like BLS as an alternate win condition because of Fleur de Lis. You can very easily make BLS with this effect. But this will be coming out for Utricularia in Lightning Overdrive, so he's what I plan to take out for Utricularia. So don't feel bad if you can't get BLS. But he's very good. Boral Sword, alternate win condition to the double combo IP Boral Sword's game versus a lot of decks. And because you run Gravedigger, Boral Sword finds openings to hit for game very often. Next up, 1 Traptrix Rafflesia, best rank 4 in the deck probably. Dweller's another one that's up there because of this format. But Rafflesia Sera is so good because Rafflesia protects you from everything and gives you another interrupt. 1 Alamaris, she's an interesting one because I don't play her in a lot of my lists, but I wanted to in this list just because of she can, because of Prosperity, we need some flex spots, but Alamaris can steal games very easily. You can make Alamaris and either just detach 2 to special a Traptrix, get its effect, and then swing for a lot of damage, or you can summon her, activate Ice Dragon's Prison on your turn, banish a big monster they control, banish, and then take it with Alamaris because of her other effect, and then you activate a trap, so Sera extends. She can steal game very easy, and she's just a pretty good card actually. And if you're have straight up broken, your hand is the nuts because Prosperity is super good, then yeah, you can make her and Sera and Rafflesia. Redoer is super good because he's honestly a raid boss. He's so many cards in one. Sometimes he beats decks on his own. So in games where, because you're running Brigandine, right? Brigandine instantly being able to put a trap under him, absolutely insane. And Redoer, again, he can just win so many games on his own. Very powerful card. Dweller, best card of the format for so many reasons I've mentioned earlier. Utopia and Utopia Double, this is a win condition that some people actually choose not to play in Traptrix, which I don't blame because Double or Nothing is such a stupid evil card that no one likes to draw. It feels so much worse than drawing it's equivalent to drawing Cult Wing, I guess, because you lose a win condition. But yeah, I think it's too good not to play. You will win so many games because of Utopia Double. It is insane. And then on to the Dogmatika package. 1 Farajit. So this is the card that can actually put Double or Nothing back. So you send Farajit, and she has 1600 attack, so you can search Ecclesia. And then you draw a card and place 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. This card is so good for the games you draw Double or Nothing, which if you're like me, you draw it 1 every 3 games. Statistically accurate. Yeah. But yeah, the Farajit, I think if you're running Dogmatika and Double or Nothing in the same deck, she is a necessary evil. I wasn't running her before because she was kind of under the radar. I hadn't seen any list playing her, and I thought about it, and she's too important. She's mandatory. And then 1 Natisse and 1 Titaniclad. This is obviously the issue with having to run Farajit, is you only play 1 Natisse, which looks weird. In most of my games, the second one comes up every now and then, and I might be sad when I don't have it. So you can probably take out Alamaris for Natisse. I don't know if I would do that. I'm still testing around with 1 because it's relatively new for me. And Natisse is probably the best Dogmatika card, period. So definitely interesting. But in the last couple of weeks, 1 Natisse has worked wonders for me. Because I send Titaniclad a lot. And that's it for the extra deck. 15 cards. Very tight, if you ask me. And then on to side deck, which is very important for Traptrix because the deck is so based on going first or second. I mean, every deck is at the end of the day. Siding is more about first or second rather than matchup nowadays. But Traptrix, it feels so much more so because you're a trap deck. Your go first is inherently better, although I think this deck's go second is actually very good because of cards like Nadir, Tactics, your 8 hand traps, the Dogmatika package. Super good going second cards. You can OTK with Utopia Double. Definitely a lot better going second than people give the deck credit for. But yes, so on to the side deck. 3 Droll Lockbird. This is essentially mandatory this format because of Drytron, and arguably Dinosaur, and maybe even Dogmatika invoked. So good versus all of those, but this is almost an auto win button versus Drytron. So as long as Crossout Designator is not released and they can't run 1 Droll and that card, this card is insane. If they don't open Herald of the Orange, you tell them to stop, you set up your board, and you probably win. It really is like an auto win button in a lot of situations unless they have the absolute stones. And then 3 DD Crow. This, again, Drytron. Just absolutely dominates Drytron, dominates Eldritch. Pretty good versus Dinosaur. Gosh, it's just so good versus everything in this format. The Grave is so important in this format if you've learned anything from watching this deck profile. But also we have like Prank Kids is a super, super good deck, and this card poops on Prank Kids. Pardon my vulgar speech, but yeah, this card dominates Prank Kids because they activate Doodle Doo or whatever, and you just like banish a target, and it's like Avarice where it just can't resolve anymore. But yeah, this card is great. Definitely, like, I'm playing 3 of it because I think it's that good. You can play Skullmeister, but I think DD Crow is more versatile, but Skullmeister does have the benefit of being level 4, which works with your Traptrix monsters, right? Harpy's Feather Duster, yeah, very good. Staple. 3, Evenly Match. For the back row decks, like Feather Duster and Evenly is our out to back row decks, or decks that set up big boards. Just really good go second card. And then the go first side, this is all the go second stuff, but some people may be like, why even side for going first in Traptrix when your go first is so good? And yeah, if you're just going first and your opponent has no side deck cards, yeah, it's good. So I choose my going first side just to be out to my opponent's side. In which case I have 2 Appointer, which is a normal trap. I think this is the best card in my side deck, to be honest. Appointer is such a game-winning card. And followed up, I have 2 Solemn Judgment. Essentially does the same thing as Appointer, but this gives hand knowledge. The one downside of this card is you actually have to have a card in your hand to activate it. I guess that's the worst part. But usually you have a hand trap or a fleur-de-lis or something. Solemn Judgment, again, and Imperial Order. This stops cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, beats things like Sky Striker. It's obviously absurd. And then Solemn Judgments and Appointers are to stop things like Harpy Feather Duster, Evenly Match. Yeah, all those really great annoying cards for control decks. The ratio is like 2 and 2, like diverse ratios, because we're playing Prosperity, so we can kind of like dig for specific cards, and card diversity is pretty cool with Pot of Prosperity. Because you'll just see like different cards, and they're good in different situations. Like, obviously Judgment's way better mid to late game, and Appointer's better going first and just, first turn, essentially. But yeah, that is the Traptrix list. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to leave your feedback and maybe how you would run the deck, what you think of my list, what you would change. But yeah, this was Top Tier Gaming. Peace as I walk over here to turn off my camera and see that it was 30 minutes. I'm so bad.